The word siwak is defined as that which is used to brush the teeth and is derived from saka yasuku, which means to brush. The plural of siwak is su'uk, just as the plural of kitab is kutub. The word applies to both the action and device, i.e. applies to the act of brushing and the tooth stick. Fairuz Abadi states in the Kumus, the tooth stick is referred to as both miswak and siwak. These scholars differ on the modality of the sunnah of miswak. Some claim that it is a sunnah of ablution, while others state that it is sunnah of prayer. Another group of scholars states that it is a broad sunnah of the deen, and this is the strongest opinion as well as the opinion of Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him. In Hidayah, it is stated that the sound opinion of the Hanafi madhab is that it is mustahabb, preferable. It is similarly the opinion of Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him. Ibn Hazm, however, claims that siwak is sunnah for prayer and preferable if it is possible for every prayer. He also states that it is fard, compulsory, on Fridays. Abu Hamid al-Israfa'ini and Mawardi report on behalf of their literalist, Zahiris, that it is compulsory. Ishaq ibn Rahuya states that it is wajib, compulsory. If it is left out intentionally, the prayer is invalid. Nawawi, however, believes that this narration from Ishaq is not soundly reported. The manner in which the siwak is to be used is horizontally and not vertically, and during the rinsing of the mouth, stage and wudu, one should brush their teeth and tongue until they are satisfied with the removal of the breath smell, until they are satisfied with the removal of the breath's smell. They should hold the siwak with the right hand, and it is mustahabb to brush 3 times with 3 gulps of water. It is mustahabb for the miswak to be as thick as the pinky finger and as long as a hand's length. It is mustahabb to brush with a twig from the arak plant. For women, ilk, mastic, is equal to siwak. If one cannot find a miswak, they can suffice with their fingers. Qutayba bin Sa'id reported to us from Sufyan, from Abu Zinad, from Al-A'raj, from Abu Huraira, who raised it to the Prophet, that he said, "If not for the fear that I would burden the believers, I would order them to delay Isha and use siwak for every prayer." Commentary. Qutayba bin Sa'id reported to us from Sufyan, from Abu Zinad, Abdullah bin Dhakwan al-Qurayshi Abu Abdurrahman al-Madani. He was famously known as Abu Zinad. It is said that his father was a brother of Abu Lu'lu'a, a trustworthy jurist. Bukhari states that the soundest chain of narration through Abu Huraira is when Abu Zinad reports from Al-A'raj, from Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him. Hafiz Dhahabi states, Abu Zinad had been given governance over some matters by the Umayyads, due to which some scholars of hadith disapproved of him, but he is a trustworthy, reliable person, with no dispute against him. Abu Yusuf reports from Abu Hanifa, who states, I came to Medina, and the people were surrounding Rabi'ah, even though Abu Zinad was the more jurisprudentially known of the two. Rabi'ah stated about him, he is not reliable and he is not approved. Rabi'ah's accusation does not carry any weight due to the obvious animosity that existed between them. Likewise, Malik's rejection of him is not sound either. Abu Zinad passed away in the year of 130 after Hijrah or later. From Al-A'raj, he is Abdurrahman ibn Hurmuz. It is said that his father's name is Kisan Abu Dawud al-Madani, the freed slave of Rabi'a bin al-Kharith bin Abd al-Muttalib. Al-A'raj was a reliable, well-established scholar who passed away in the year 117 after Hijrah. From Abu Huraira, who raised it, meaning Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, raised the narration of this hadith of the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, and he reported it from him, that he said, if it wasn't out of fear that I would burden, I place hardship and trouble on the believers with the compulsoriness of delaying Isha and using siwak for every prayer, implying, if not for the fear of hardship befalling them, I would order them compulsorily to delay Isha, meaning I would obligate them to delay Isha to 1/3 or 1/2 of the night. This delay is mustahabb according to the majority of the scholars, and to use siwak compulsorily with every prayer. Understand that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was the purest of the pure. He held private discourses with the angels of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ was very much distant from even a trace of bad breath creeping up on him, because his inner self was exceptionally chaste and could not bear any blemishes. Discourse with the angels required him to be distant from any foul smell, which is why he disliked food which had bad stench. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was ordered to perform wudu for every prayer. So when that became difficult for him, he was ordered to use siwak for every prayer. Because of this, it is known that using siwak for every prayer was obligatory for the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, but not for his ummah. Later, he became worried about his obligation upon the ummah. He saw the difficulty for them to practice upon it due to their weakness and limitation. That is why he said, if not for fear of difficulty in practicing, I would obligate them to use siwak. The word lawla, if not, is used to deny the application of the second due to the existence of the first. When the existence of the first is confirmed and established, and in this hadith it is fear of difficulty, the prevention of the second is also established, which is the obligation of using siwak. Thus, it remains on the level of mustahabb. This is a refutation to the Dhahiri, literally school of thought, which claims that it is obligatory. As for it being mustahab, there is a difference of opinion on whether it is for salah or wudu. Most of these scholars in the Hanafi school state it is mustahab to use siwak for wudu, due to what Ibn Khuzaymah reported in his Sahih, and Al-Hakim in his Al-Mustadrak, and Bukhari reporting directly from Abu Huraira in the chapter of fasting, that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, if not for fear that I would burden my ummah, I would order them to use siwak with every wudu. Another hadith narrated by Ahmad and others states, if not for fear that I was burdening my ummah, I would order them to use siwak for every tuhur, purification. The narration that mentioned to use siwak for every prayer are interpreted by the Hanafi scholars as using siwak right before wudu. The scholars of the Shafi'i school combine these narrations and say siwak is used at the beginning of prayer and wudu. The only reason the Hanafi scholars don't consider siwak to be solely for prayer is because siwak is done in the mouth and therefore makes it highly possible for the gums to bleed, and protrusion of blood causes invalidation of wudu according to the Hanafi scholars. This is why siwak before prayer can cause difficulty. Also, these scholars state that it is not narrated that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, would use siwak when he stood up for prayer. The statement, I would order them to use siwak for every prayer, carries the possibility that it means every wudu. Some books of fiqh clarify and elucidate the karaha, dislikeness, expressed by the Hanafi madhab in an excellent manner. They explain that the karaha expressed by the Hanafis exists due to the possibility of blood emission that can invalidate wudu. In truth, however, there are no grounds for these karaha based on the narrations. If the texts carry the possibility of being implemented based on their apparent meaning, and it is certainly possible in this narration, then it is not permissible to take the figurative meaning or the meaning that are mudaf, noun in a constructive phrase, is hidden, or the meaning that a mudaf, noun in a constructive phrase, is hidden. How is that possible while the istihbab, desired recommendation, is mentioned about prayer itself in some noteworthy and preferred Hanafi texts? It states in the Tatarakhaniya reporting from the Tatimma that, according to us, the Hanafi scholars, siwak is mustahab for every salat, every wudu, due to any change in the odor of the mouth and after awakening from sleep. Ibn Humman states in his commentary on the Hidayah, siwak is mustahab, desirable, in 5 cases: yellowing of the teeth, change in mouth smell, waking from sleep, getting up for prayer, and during wudu.